But let's put that aside for the moment, like everyone else is doing. So President Trump signed an executive order stating, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, including Section 740 of the District of Columbia Self-Government and Governmental Reorganization Act, Public Law 93-198, as amended, Section 740 of the Home Rule Act, and Section 301 of Title III of the United States Code, it is hereby ordered that President Trump is claiming power under Section 740 of the Home Rule Act and Title III, Section 301 of the United States Code. Let's start with the first. Part of the Home Rule Act allows the president to act in an emergency. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, whenever the President of the United States determines that special conditions of an emergency nature exist which require the use of the Metropolitan Police Force for federal purposes, he may direct the mayor to provide him, and the mayor shall provide such services of the Metropolitan Police Force as the President may deem necessary and appropriate. Now, contrary to both the words and actions of the Trump administration, the act does not give the President the authority to take over law enforcement within the district. Rather, it allows him to tell the mayor to provide the services of the Metropolitan Police Department, or MPD, as the President sees fit. The act does not give the President the authority to restructure the MPD or to make personnel changes. There's also a time limit to the President's power. In no case, however, shall such services made available pursuant to any such directions under the subsection extend for a period in excess of 48 hours unless the President has, prior to the expiration of such period, notified the chairman and ranking minority member of the committees on the District of Columbia of the Senate and the House of Representatives in writing as to the reason for such direction and the period of time during which the need for such services is likely to continue. The President has 48 hours, 2 days, before he either terminates the emergency or notifies the top two members of the committees overseeing the district in both the House and Senate. He does not have to ask permission, only notify them in writing of the reason for his declaring an emergency. That doesn't mean there isn't a time limit on the powers vested in the President by this act. Subject to the provision of subsection C of this section, such services made available in accordance with subsection A of this section shall terminate upon the end of such emergency, the expiration of a period of 30 days following the date on which such services are first made available, or the adoption of a resolution by either the Senate or the House of Representatives providing for such termination, whichever comes first. So the President has this power for 30 days. Of course, Congress can, by joint resolution, terminate the President's power earlier unless Congress says otherwise, except to the extent provided for in subsection C of this section. No such service made available pursuant to the direction of the President, pursuant to subsection A of this section, shall extend for any period in excess of 30 days unless the Senate and the House of Representatives approve a concurrent resolution authorizing such an extension. So Congress can technically extend this emergency power indefinitely, but only Congress has that power. Now, I find President Trump's claim under Title III, Section 301 of the United States Code interesting because it reads, the President of the United States is authorized to designate and empower the head of any department or agency in the executive branch or any official thereof who is required to be appointed by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to perform without approval, ratification, or other actions by the President any function which is vested in the President by law, or any function which such officer is required or authorized by law to perform, only with or subject to the approval, ratification, or other action of the President. Section 301 of Title III only allows the President to delegate the authority to perform the actions of the President to the head of a branch of an agency. There is one caveat, though, provided that nothing contained herein shall relieve the President of his responsibility in office for the acts of any such head or other official designated by him to perform such functions. This means that the President cannot throw up his hand and let someone else do the job. He is still responsible for the acts of those he designates. However, this has nothing to do with his actions under the Home Rule Act.